Hey, Jen, let me know when you're ready.
You're on, sir.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
Mayor Denner.
Here. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
I got a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Jen, will you take roll call vote?
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Seeing there's nothing under appearances and acknowledgement, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Jen, you want to take roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Nothing under unfinished business. We'll move into the new business. Jen, will you, for number one, bring us up to speed on authorize the mayor to sign letters, South Dakota Department Environmental and Natural Resource Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan?
Yes. All right. Back on May 11th, you as the Board of Commissioners authorized the mayor to sign several documents to move forward with the loans from USDA RD on both the wastewater, sanitary sewer system, and the storm sewer system. You will remember that we applied for both RD and SRF funds. So now that we have moved forward with the RD funding package, this is just a notification to our friends at the DENR, thanking them and their team for their application review and their subsequent funding offers, but that we are moving forward with RD due to the difference in the interest rate and the savings with RD as opposed to SRF.
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign letters, South Dakota Department Environmental and Natural Resource Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, roll call, please.
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Number 2 is also yours, Jen. Authorize the mayor to sign grant agreement FAA-AIP 3-46-0029-019-2020 CARES Act.
Yes, all right. Then back on May 4th, you authorized the mayor to sign the CARES Act federal funding grant application for $30,000. We have been awarded that grant, so you have in front of you the CARES Act Airport Grants Agreement. On page 1 of the agreement, which is page 3 of the document, it discusses how funding is to help offset the decline in revenues arising from diminished airport operations as a result of COVID-19. This $30,000 can be used for the airport's operational and maintenance expenses or debt service, of which we have none. We do have 4 years to use this $30,000. I believe the airport board is discussing options, whether it just rolls into an operating budget, if there's a specific project that they want to do with it. But for the short term, we would ask that you authorize the mayor to sign the grant agreement and proceed with accepting that funding.
Thank you, Jen. Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign grant agreement FAA-AIP 3-46-0029-019-2020 CARES Act?
I'll move.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call vote,
I
please?
can. I had another comment though here,
Okay.
if I can simply add. I had Tracy pull fuel, just when it talks about decrease in revenue, potential decrease in revenue. Just an FYI, our avgas sales for April of this year as compared to April of last year was actually $2,400 more this year. So far, at least for the month of April, our fuel sales are hanging in there
The airport.
at the airport. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call? Is that
Roll
what you
call,
need?
please.
All right, Corbin, Commissioner Corbin,
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner,
Aye.
Commissioner Thel,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
That'd be me. Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Number 3 is Brad, authorize the mayor to sign engagement proposal, Shiplayers Consultant, Inc., Advanced Meter Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You should have in your packet a proposal from the Spiegler Group. Should look like this, and in that it proposes to prepare a request for proposals for advanced metering infrastructure. The backdrop to this is that our current meter reading system is scheduled to expire basically on December of 2021. So we have a little bit of time, but it actually takes quite a bit of time to go through this process and come up with a system to replace that current meter reading system. And so we've been looking at different prospects. I think we've got some that are worth taking a look at, and wanted to develop a document that would give us all the information needed to do a thorough investigation and review of what those different systems have to offer. And that's what's before you here is this proposal from the Spiegler Group, David Spiegler. He came to Madison here earlier this year in January and had a presentation about the use cases where we studied whether or not doing AMI, as this is called, or several other things we looked at were like energy storage and smart cities and outage management, those types of things, to see which business cases made sense, to see what made sense for us to move forward on as a business that didn't cost us a lot of money and actually made us money over time. And one of the things that we looked at was AMI. And the first time we looked at AMI, it came out that it was one of the worst cases for business. And the reason for that is that just reading meters didn't give us enough value to move forward with the AMI system. However, when we looked at it and said, can we do more with it? Can we do things like remote connect and disconnect for those people like in apartments that move in and out all the time, where we have to roll trucks and you take our linemen and go out there and read the meters, connect them, disconnect them, and all that stuff. Would that help pay for it? And the answer to that was yes. I don't know if any of you remember it, but we had this business case here, and we had 13 things looked at it. The number one, most profitable one, the net present value over $750,000 in a 10-year run, was the remote connect and disconnect. And so as we were moving forward with this proposal to do AMI, the question was, can we include that as part of the AMI package? And the answer to that was yes. And then that made the AMI net positive. When we threw in things like conservation voltage reduction and prepaid metering, all of those things became much, much more profitable, to the tune of about $2 million. And so over the course of the next 10 years, if we can put together this advanced metering infrastructure, use it to do conservation voltage reduction, the prepaid metering, and then also the remote connect and disconnect, we can have a net $2 million positive impact to the system. So that's what this RFP process does, is it lets us get to who can do that for us and do it in a manner that we can move forward in the near future and take advantage of this business case that's presented to us. Are there any questions about the actual RFP that's laid in front of you, I can certainly answer those. I'll allow you to put a motion on the table and then we can discuss it.
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign engagement proposal Shippler's Consultant Inc. Advanced Meter Infrastructure?
So moved.
May I? Can I do this? May I ask that a motion include that monies should come from the general water, electric, and sewer funds? This is a non-budgeted project, but as we discussed last week, due to the flip-flop between the Tyler remote and bringing this to you instead, the dollars should be in the budget, just in where they were budgeted for as Tyler expenses, which we shouldn't realize. But I would still ask that the motion be that the funds come from general, water, electric, and sewer. Brad, any other comments on that? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
I would make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign engagement proposals, Shippler Consulting Incorporated, advanced metering infrastructure, and the funding source would be from the general, water, electric, and sewer funds.
Correct.
I'll second that. Brent, do you have an idea how much it's gonna cost?
There's a pretty wide range, and that's kind of one of the things that we won't know until we go through this RFP process. And the wide range is dependent on how many meters we have to replace. Our intention is to use as many of our legacy meters as possible, and depending on what the particular vendor proposes, that is where the big cost comes in, is replacing meters. And so if we can get by without having to replace a lot of meters, either modifying the ones we have or replacing a select number of them, allowing us to read the ones that we have, we can save quite a bit of money over what would be the normal business case, which is, and what this business case was originally set up on, was a complete meter swap out, both water and electric meters. And we have roughly, we're about $700,000 invested into the meters themselves, not counting the labor. So when you start talking about that, we got probably over $1 million invested in meters here that we don't want to lose the value of, because many of them are just a few years old. Some of them just were replaced this last year. So as we move forward, we want to keep in mind that we want to use as many of those legacy meters as we can and still have the capabilities to take advantage of the remote connect and disconnect, the conservation voltage reduction, and the prepaid metering. And if we can do that, then this becomes, like say, a net $2 million roughly positive business case. So I think that's something that we got to evaluate as we go along. But the costs could be anywhere, from probably $250,000 upwards of, including, if we had to replace all the meters, almost $1 million. Now, the money that's budgeted for this year would get us through the this proposal, and a pilot study is what we planned on doing. We would have next year's budget where we could budget the monies for the rest of the system, but without having some of those numbers in hand, it's going to be real hard to budget. So the idea was to get as much of this done prior to having to submit the budget, then we could know what we had to have for the budget for next year to finish this up. And we've got a plan that if everything worked out great, if we got a cheap enough one that has all the capabilities, meets all the requirements, we could possibly get it instituted this year with the monies we have on hand. If we have to go for additional monies, then we would finish it up at the tail end of when the Tyler, we won't call it the conversion, is over next August, basically. September is when we start on it. And then we put the meters in and do whatever we have to do from that point forward through December and have it up and running before our current system expires, if you will. But I don't have an exact number. That's what this process will give us.
But with the agreement that we have in front of us, Brad, it states
Yes.
it states 6,000 per month. We would anticipate
Yes.
7 months of that for 2020, so approximately $42,000.
And I spoke with David, and he said that we can, because we talked about the need to probably move the timeline around a little bit. He said he'd be very comfortable doing that. This was just a proposal to kind of encompass the worst case scenario, if you will. And so that would be doing the full swap out, the whole, $1 million plus changeover. in light of the fact that it looks like we might be able to do something a little bit less rigorous, and that we'd be able to move this along maybe a little faster, we could, shorten that up quite a bit, and the fees would be shortened up with it, but the ultimate cost would be $6,000 a month. Now, with 30 days notice, we can stop him at any point, and so there's, you just have to decide when we are done with the process, and then we can stop, working with him at any point in time. It doesn't matter where we're at in the process, there's just that standard notice, and we can move along. So that's part of this. I've had that conversation with him also, and he's completely comfortable with that too.
But that 30-day notice is not part of this agreement, right?
Yes. He said it was something that he said just give him a 30-day notice and it would work out. I'm thinking it was in the back pages here, but
I just want to make sure we were comfortable with that 30 days. I did see it in the agreement. Kristen and I had this conversation earlier today, and we just want to be comfortable with that 30-day stop, knowing that this has to flow with our Tyler timelines. And the point where when we get to the data pull and we have to stop, we can stop no matter where we're at. So on behalf of the project team, we just want to be comfortable that that 30 days is okay, and we just couldn't find it in the agreement.
yeah, I don't think it's in agreement. It was either in an email or a phone call I had with him afterwards. I can certainly get that as an addendum to this agreement if we need to. But there's no issue there. And you could, if you wanted to amend your motion to say, contingent upon getting an amended agreement with a 30-day, I forget the, I don't know what's the right word for that, the 30-day estoppel, I guess, if you will, of the agreement, then I'd be fine with that too.
Are they traveling? It just says travel expenses are billed at cost. So we would potentially have travel expenses, or are they not traveling?
They are traveling. The last I knew, David said he would like to be here for a couple of meetings, and obviously we do social distancing and that type of stuff, but from my understanding, he is still traveling.
Okay, so travel would be an additional cost.
Yes.
Brad, I got a question. Earlier you were mentioning that our first study earlier was from the CMG group. Where do they lie into this? I mean, we went from CMG to the Spiegler group.
David is part of CMG, and so Corvallis Management Group has multiple different, if you will, freelancers that work underneath them. And one of them is Dave Spiegler with the Spiegler Group. So he lists his stuff as Spiegler Group just like anybody else would that was working as a consultant. But he works as part of CMG. So it's still the same people. It's still the same umbrella we're underneath. It's just we're dealing with one of their contractors, if you will, or one of their freelance contractors that does work for them under their umbrella, but he calls it by his own name. So that's who came and did our presentation. That's who did all of our use cases. Was, says CMG on the information, but Dave sends his own agreements out with his own name on it.
Okay, thank you. So David will send out an RPR, you said, to different vendors, an RFP to different vendors, and for the type of meter software we are looking for, and then we get back from the vendors a bid?
It would be in the form of a proposal.
Okay.
And the thing about this, in technology, we're not necessarily required to bid, but we are allowed to do these requests for proposals, and then we can do negotiations with whoever we want that sends the proposals. And so the idea was to get the proposals, then negotiate the best deal that we can get for the one that has the most appropriate, package for us as a city, and then move forward with that. And when you buy technology, state law / legislative audit has an exception for technology when you're purchasing it, because if you had to go to lowest bid, you wouldn't always get what you wanted. So in this case, we're allowed to do requests for proposals, then negotiate with the lowest or the best proposal in our interest as a city.
Thank you.
So the RFP is really reflective of what we want, what we need, more than just what we can afford, although that obviously is a factor. But is that correct? Am I correct in that? They'll bid.
Yes, when we're dealing,
Go ahead.
yes, when we're dealing with technology, it's difficult for us to specify everything because obviously we're not the experts in the technology, they are. And so what we tell them is we tell them what we want to do, and they tell us how they can do it, how they can support what we want to do. We'll have to evaluate, we'll have two different criteria set up in our RFP. One will be, like an elimination criteria, and one will be a screening criteria. So the first one, the screening criteria, you look at it and say, are they going to use our legacy meters or not? And if the answer to that is not, then we would probably first round peel all those proposals out and say we want to work with people that can work with our legacy metering so we can reduce that cost. So that'd be a screening criteria. Then you have evaluation criteria that says, okay, if we go with vendor A, it's going to cost us X number of dollars, but we're going to get so much in return. If we go with vendor B, it'll be X number of dollars with less return. And you can go through an evaluation process that way. And whether you use like an evaluation matrix or a couple other different methods, we can certainly come up with a way to determine what's in the best interest for the city of Madison through this process. In the military, we call it the military decision-making process, and this is following that same basic format where you have a formal process where you gather your information, you make comparisons, and then you make a decision based on what those comparisons and what those vendors have provided for information in that.
I may be getting ahead of myself a little bit here, because I might not even be here in a couple of weeks, right? But in any case, will you, at the final product, will you come forward to us with what you might consider the best two proposals? Got a cough there, Brad?
Sorry, I just had to step away and close the door at the dog started barking, but
I thought you had a cold. I didn't know.
no.
Concerned
The
about
plan
it.
would be when we come and we have gone through all these proposals, we would bring the one that has the most merit, that looks like it's in the best interest for the city of Madison. We'd bring it back to the full commission before we move forward with anything.
So you would be presenting us with one proposal. We wouldn't be asked to choose between one or two of them. You would recommend one to us, and then obviously you would address the merit of that to it with us.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, we do. We do one.
Any further comments, discussion?
Was there somewhere in here that somebody mentioned an amendment?
Yeah, I was just gonna. Did someone want to amend it so we could include to be able to stop with these guys with a 30 days notice?
Why would we
There's
do
been a
that?
second on the floor.
Right. So do we want to vote on that first?
I'll make a motion to amend it with that language.
Yeah, we do the amendment first.
Okay.
I second that amendment.
Okay.
So we have to vote on the amendment, and then we have to vote on the motion. We have to vote on the amendment, and then the motion, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Is there any further comments, discussion? Jen, will you take roll call vote on the amended? Right?
On the amendment, yeah.
On the amendment.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
All right.
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thel.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye.
Doing too many things here tonight. Mayor
That's
Denner.
all right.
And now we vote on the
Motion.
motion.
Okay. We are going to vote on the original motion. Jen, will you take roll call?
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Yep.
Commissioner Johnson.
All right.
Commissioner Thel.
Aye.
And Mayor Denner.
Aye. So, Brad, will you get us a new contract in with that in there?
Yes, I'll work with David and get a new contract with that wording on the end of it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks.
Number 4, Jen, approve first reading ordinance number 1624 golf carts.
I'm going to defer to Chief Meyer, who I believe is on the line, and then I can speak to some insurance language that we want to amend. Okay, Chief?
Sure. Is David in the room?
He is gone today. He is not feeling
Yes,
well.
okay. So basically this was brought to our attention. David brought this up a couple weeks ago. We did do some digging into other area municipalities that do currently allow golf carts on the street. And so we took a little bit from those to cover those. And this is basically allowing gas and or electric golf carts to operate on our city streets with the requirements that are listed within the ordinance that's in your packet. I think Jen's referring to, going to switch up some language to modify on the insurance part. But basically, it would allow them to operate with the understanding that they cannot operate on a state highway. So South Washington or Washington from 2nd Street South, as well as Northwest 2nd Street. The only time that they could be on that would be crossing those major arteries. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory.
On my end, gentlemen, under section 11-329, operation requirements, the person operating the golf cart, number 2, we'd like to change that verbiage to must have proof of insurance covering operation of the golf cart and not less than the minimum required by the state of South Dakota. That clarifies the language as to whether we have insurance on the personal property or the liability insurance. So if you approve, we would ask that you approve first reading with that amendment, please.
Do I have a motion to approve first reading ordinance number 1624 golf cart with the amended verbiage?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments, discussion, Jen, on this, the permit required? We don't have to discuss anything on fees yet on that, or?
We don't.
Okay.
Chief Meyer had also put together a permit, which I believe is back in our office, or not, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But as discussed in the ordinance, there will be a permit that will be issued from the finance office. The fee for the permit is subject to resolution, and we will continue conversations on how much we want to charge for this permit fee. Does not affect the ordinance that you have in front of you for voting, though.
Thank you. Any further comments, discussion? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take roll call vote?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thill?
Aye.
Mayor Denner?
Aye. Jen, number 5 is yours too. Discuss public use of city facilities.
I'm just going to remind you that back on April 27th, the last time that this agenda item was on your agenda was on April 27th. At that time, your direction was that the Armory Recycling Center and playgrounds, along with organized sports at the Ball Diamonds, will be closed to activity until June 1st and then re-evaluated. Now, we've discussed in the last couple weeks several of these, but probably what is before you this evening is the Armory Recycling Center. Anything else you want to throw in there?
For the time being, we intend to keep the recycling center as is, as it currently is. it may still be, it might be for a short time yet, for a short time yet, we're going to keep it the way we are. There are three parties that are affected by that, you know, our own employees, the employees of Valiant, and of course then the citizens themselves. I need to visit with the executive director of Valiant about this, see where they're at with that themselves. They've not objected to what we've done either way up till this point, but I just want them to be informed if we are going to open it again. Mike, do you want to speak to any of this?
I just had several requests for the month of June and July and August and September for the Armory. There are people who wanted to start scheduling some stuff in there. So I've been telling everybody it's officially closed till election, because that was what our original motion was. So I think that if you want to open the Armory, I'm fine with it being open and stuff. Since businesses are going back to normal and stuff, and they're allowing people in them, I think we just got to have a motion probably by to open it. Is what my.
We didn't have a motion to close. That was just a decision on.
Right, there was no formal
There was
motion,
no-
it was just directive.
Right.
And I'm fine if you guys wanted to say open it back up after the election. I prefer that we don't open it till after the election, so that we can keep it as clean as possible with the people coming in and out of there. So
We'll be setting up for election tomorrow
yeah.
morning, actually.
So, but there was people that wanted to practice baseball in there today, but I told them no. So, but
There was people at what?
that they wanted to be in the batting cage on the stage in the Armory because it rained and it was too wet to be out. The fields were, so they wanted to be in there, but I told them no till the election's over with. I'm keeping everybody out of there. So. It's up to you guys. If you want to open it, keep it closed for the month of June. Doesn't matter to me either way. It's less of a headache if it's closed for me, but
I feel as long as they got sports outside, baseball and stuff, they can go outside there's two batting cages, one out in Bachman and one down at Flynn Field.
and I think that the only time they'd be using the baseball and softball world would be using it during inclement weather. But there are certain travel basketball teams and all that stuff too that have showed some interest in wanting to have summer practices in there. So weddings, auctions. What else do we have? Montgomery sale is wanting to be rescheduled. Also,
Do we have a lot for coming up in June?
no, not in June. I think, if I remember right, the Montgomery sale is scheduled in September. Usually the summertime's pretty slow in the Armory, so I'm fine with it. But if you open City Hall, I've heard rumors maybe June 1st, the City Hall doors opening back up. That's another thing. So it's all up to Commission's decision. I'll support either way.
Commissioner Johnson, you got any thought on that? You want to leave
If the
it?
City Hall wasn't opening up, I would suggest we keep the Armory closed till July 1st.
Unless you'd like to see otherwise, but our internal conversation for City Hall was to open back up to the public on June 1st, but also do some social media and announcements about if there's any business that you can continue to do via phone or email, please continue to do so.
I guess if we haven't had anybody call for the June, I'd maybe like to see it stay shut another month.
Fine with that.
I would, at this point, unless there's a real demand for it.
Right.
You know, I just think that, as Bob said, they have some opportunities for outdoor. I appreciate that we're already getting into basketball practice for traveling teams, but that's probably something that wouldn't hurt for them to come and speak to the Park and Rec about too.
I'm good with that.
You know, so for the time being, my recommendation is that we keep other than the election, that we keep the Armory closed until, July 1st.
The only clarification is do we start scheduling people in like the Montgomery sale in September, because Clark St. Clair's already reached out to us for dates and stuff like that, and like auctions and stuff like that. I mean, that's ultimately up to you. It does generate a small amount of income for it in June or July and August and September, because people call all the time and want to know when it's going to be open.
I guess I would be comfortable keeping it shut down one more month and then start. I mean, you can start taking for July 1st.
Okay.
Taking reservations.
Yep, I'm
Right.
fine with that. I'm fine with that.
If everybody else is okay with it. I mean,
I would be okay with that, just with the caveat, if we have an upswing in
right.
cases, then that changes the ballgame completely for everybody.
Yep.
Maybe let them know if they call and want a July 15th date, just say, yeah, that you can
Yep.
request it. We'll put your name down, but if,
And that's basically what I told Clark when we talked to
Yep.
him earlier.
I think if we go on that, I'm good with that. How about anybody else?
Sounds good to me.
Okay,
What, the swimming pool, shelter, you gonna open that up too?
That's a question that we don't.
Or a question for the park board or what?
Well, I mean, that's a question. Do we keep the shelters closed due to it till July 1st and not let any family reunions be up there if they're not letting them in the Armory? I mean, it's all up to the decision of you, and the park board will meet in a week. I mean, and I can bring it up, and then I can see what the park board wants to do too. But
I'd like a recommendation from the park board.
okay,
I mean, I could go, it's outside, if it's a family reunion, it's gonna be all family anyway.
Yep.
But
I don't.
Because the swimming pool shelter, that is pretty handy for, family reunions and get-togethers and stuff.
We have two enclosed shelters that are rented quite frequently, one at Bachman and one at the swimming pool. So, I mean, I agree. I want to utilize them as much as we can. But
Have you had a lot of calls on?
not lately. Everybody's been pretty much waiting, and with the pool not opening, I don't know how that's gonna affect that shelter and stuff. So everybody's been really good with just kind of staying at home, basically.
June 9th is your next,
Yeah, I think so. I can.
Second Tuesday of the month.
June 9th then.
So that gives us
June
some
9th.
time to bring it back to us and
Yeah,
tell us what they recommend.
for the shelters.
Yeah, shelters and yeah, I can definitely put it on.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I got.
Okay, we'll move on
Thank
to
you.
yes,
Thanks for
thank
being
you.
here, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll move on to number 6, appoint election board.
I have a text message right now from Justin Myers saying that he needs it June 3rd, 10th, and 17th in the PM for the Armory, if possible. So, I mean, for training.
Third, 10th, and what?
The 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th of June. He needs it for training.
That's for our own internal use,
Right,
for training.
for our
Yeah.
own term.
Well, I don't
it
know.
would be no different than the,
So do we keep the highway patrol out of there and everything like that too, and GFP and all that stuff, or? I mean, it's closed. It's closed. It's for the
Can
fire.
I jump in here for a second?
Yes?
This is internal training for the Madison Police Department only. We're getting recertified in some of our tactics, and we have typically gone to the high school, but obviously that's not an option at this point, so we're looking to use it the afternoons of those days as well as evenings those nights.
So nobody else will have you, so you come home. Okay. I'm in favor of allowing the PD to use the service.
Internal people can use it, and we'll use it for the election,
Mhm.
and that's it. I'm good with that.
Okay, Justin?
That's perfect. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, number 6, appoint election board. Jen?
Okay, this year's election is going to be the election of all elections. You have got before you, I believe it's 8 sheets that were emailed out probably about noonish today to formally appoint on the city's end after discussion with the Secretary of State, who recommended we still do our own notice of appointments here, as you have in front of you, even though the county has done them back in April. So you have before you several sheets, notice of appointment, Ward 1, A through K, Ward 1, L through Z, Ward 2, Ward 3. We also, because of the election and the absentee ballots that we anticipate and already have in possession, there's going to be separate absentee precincts, which also require a notice of appointment. We have got precinct assistant, we have election assistant, and finally we have a counting board. Now the counting board appointment was a little bit different. We all 3 signed that one earlier in the year, but I included it also for your approval for these notice of appointment. Again, as per my conversation with the Secretary of State's office, we simply need to have all of these workers appointed and stated in our minutes. I will answer any questions you have, please.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
A motion to appoint election boards.
Do I have a motion to appoint election board?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further comments or discussion for Jen on the election board? Not hearing any. Jen, will you take a roll call?
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Corbin.
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner.
Aye.
Commissioner Thill.
Aye.
Mayor Denner.
Aye. Public comment. I don't think there, I doubt it if there is. We don't have anybody else here except us, so I don't think there's going to be any public comments.
Is there anybody online that would like to make public comments?
Nothing, Lexi. Okay. Announcements. I want to make the announcement that the primary and the combined municipal and school election is June 2nd. Plus, you'll there's a attached sheet showing you where your polling location is, and city residents' polling location is at the city armory. Is there any other announcements?
I have one, yes.
Yep.
Excuse me. As you all know, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we canceled the 2020 citywide cleanup event. I've been working with the Public Works Department to come up with a solution that best fits the citizens of Madison while keeping our staff safe and healthy. We will be mailing out a restricted use site coupon in the next batch of utility bills. These coupons will be color-coded, with each color representing a 2-week time frame, allowing for citizens to drop at the restricted use site free of charge. Each address will get one coupon good for 1 pickup load of debris. Residents will be required to present this coupon along with their most recent utility bill when dropping at the site. I would like to remind citizens that the City of Madison operates a restricted use site, not a landfill. This means that we are limited on the items that we can accept. We cannot accept things including appliances, electronics, metals, recyclables, yard waste, household garbage, paints, stains, or any hazardous materials. Please call the Public Works Office if you have questions regarding what is acceptable or not acceptable. The coupon must, as I indicated before, the coupon must be presented at the drop-off site, and it's for debris only. So when you take out a truckload of debris, you must have the coupon that's going to be mailed to you and your most recent utility bill. Now, somebody said, what if I get my utility bill electronically? Well, you need to make a copy of it, or download it to your phone or to a tablet that you can bring out with you and show it to the person who is working that day. One pickup load per address. Additional debris will be charged at the rate of $12 per cubic yard. A couple other things that I want to note. In the past, I think we've accepted 8 tires. This year, we are only accepting 4 tires per address, and they must be removed from the rims. We still have tires left over from last year's, so that you know, it costs about $2,500 a year, that pile of tires, to get them hauled away. So limiting it to 4 tires as opposed to 8 is probably an expense-saving thing for us in the city, but due to the fact that we still have tires left over to be hauled away from last year, I would really like to hold that number down if we can. So 4 tires per address. Again, no appliances, no electronics, no metals, no recyclables, no yard waste, no household garbage, no paints and stains or other hazardous materials. Another thing in our last inspection that they asked of us is that we do not bag up like you would bag your garbage up. Okay? Sometimes things get snuck in those bags, and so please do not bag things up. It makes it difficult for us, and we can be cited by the DNR and fined. So we don't want that to happen anymore, to run up our expenses. In the past, I'll try to explain this. The city was divided up into 4 quadrants, and we can't do that. We can't do 4 quadrants, like one quadrant 2 weeks, another one 2 weeks, another one 2 weeks, and another one 2 weeks. So one group will get a green sheet, a green coupon, and I believe that's for June 15th through June 29th. The next group will get a blue sheet, which will be for June 29th through July 13th. The next group will get yellow sheets, which is July 13th through July 27th. And finally, the last group will get pink sheets, which is July 27th to August 10th. This coupon is made available to city residents only. So it's for residential use only, valid through the date shown above. No businesses, nonprofits, or rental managers will be issued the coupons. The restricted use site is located west of Junius, 1.5 miles of Junius, 1/2 mile north on 446 Avenue. Enter at the first gate and proceed to the attendant. The hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 1:30 to 4, and Friday and Saturday, 9 to 1. So you could be looking for those in your, it's the best we could come up with as a response to having had canceled it. COVID did affect us. We aren't completely sure when college starts, university starts, so this is the best we could do for people. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I did have one. You say pickup. What if we don't own a pickup? A small trailer, will you accept?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
small trailer would be acceptable also.
Okay, thank you.
I might just say one thing, Kelly. The pallets and the trees can go out east of town.
Correct.
Don't take them out west, because we used to have a lot of that when we had citywide cleanup. They can go out east of town, so.
Good point, thank you, Bob, yeah. At the yard waste site.
Yeah, yard waste site.
Any other questions from anybody?
Appreciate you guys coming up with another plan. I know I've had several people ask me, told them we were working on another plan, so I'm sure this will.
Yeah, and I kind of ran through it twice fast, but they can always call Public Works if they have questions.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Any further announcements? Nothing under exec session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. Oh, my God.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.